Hey, I hope you enjoyed this interview with Vincent Blackshadow. We met right over there at Purgatory. He's a good guy. We talked a lot about music, being creative, keeping that shit going, making the best of your work, and just kind of the whole creative process. And he's just a super nice dude, and yeah, can't wait for you to listen to this. Check it out. Hey, welcome back everybody. We're on the Zen Perry Project, and we have Vincent Blackshadow here today. We're back. We're doing this, and thank you so much for showing up and making this all happen.
Thanks for having me on. I'm glad to be, the re-entrance into the castosphere.
The cast, yeah. Sure. That's a good word for it.
The podcastosphere.
Yeah. Well, hey, cheers again.
Yeah. Rock and roll.
Yeah, thanks. He was a true person of his word, bringing in these beers. Because we talked about this. So we met at Purgatory, which is our local bar, which is a great venue, great times, great hang, great people that work there. And so apparently you work there as well, which does not surprise me. So you said you worked the door the other day? Yeah,
I was working the door last night. I used to do it a lot more, but just with other jobs and stuff, haven't been doing it as much lately. So it's such a casual thing. I love that bar, it's like it maintains that little DIY atmosphere. That's really cool.
It absolutely does. And they're I believe the owners are from like Nashville. Do you know?
Oh, really?
Do you know anything about them? Have you ever met the owners?
I've met the owners. Yeah. Yeah, because it's such a tight-knit organization that they kind of they try to make everybody feel like the owners a little bit. This is our tribe, this is our space.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know anything about them being from Nashville though. It's interesting.
Well, shit.
You know what used to happen in that building though?
No.
This is the story I've been told. You know how it's like right up, it's right down from the cemetery there.
Yeah, so
right?
The reason why I think the name is so apropos.
Yeah.
It's called Purgatory. It's right next to like the biggest graveyard in Bushwick or in, I think Brooklyn. Yeah.
I think it separates the counties.
Oh.
Like that's why it's, because
there's more dead people in Brooklyn than there are alive people.
I see them every day. Especially where I'm at these days. But
what is that supposed to mean?
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. But I've heard that the Purgatory cast has told me that that building used to be the site where they built the tombstones for the cemetery up the street.
That absolutely makes sense.
And have you ever walked in that cemetery?
Oh yeah, that's where I go on my runs.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll know then that those tombstones, about 80% of them are like hollow. You never notice that? Like whenever I'm there, I always notice. If you go like
I go to the Evergreen Cemetery.
Okay, you go to the Evergreen one. I'm talking about the Catholic one that really is like 90 feet up from Purgatory.
Yeah, I never go to that one.
Okay, you should check it out sometime because, especially like on a day like today, really blustery, right? Very windy day today. If you go tomorrow, I guarantee you that you'll see a bunch of headstones that have just been knocked over because they're not made of like, solid metal. They're just hollow tombstones. I know.
Are they rock or what?
No, I don't think so. I think they're more like almost like a styrofoam kind of thing.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but you'll notice that they've all been knocked over and there's like holes in some of them and everything, and it's just like,
dude, great song name, Death on a Budget.
Death on a Budget. Exactly. That's not bad. We should go for that.
Yeah.
But can you imagine dying? And then it's
I was thinking about this. I think about death far too often.
Oh, too often? You think so?
I don't know about that, but it's kind of funny because I live in this basement. I'm right next to the graveyard, and I'm like, the only other people that are at this level are dead people.
Yeah, and at the hours that we're awake, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're hourly people. Our shift is around now too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're having a decently late podcast, which is fun
I know. I'm thankful that you're squeezing.
Oh, dude,
me
I
in
hit you up. I
there.
was like, "You want to do a podcast on Monday?" You're like, "I have a fucking job, you fucker." Yeah. I mean, we both did. That's why we. I mean, it happened now. Sorry,
Yeah.
I totally derailed you.
No, not at all.
So I guess they're fucking styrofoam.
Yeah, the tombstone's there. You just knock them over. But it just feels shitty to me that somebody would die and then their last testament is like, just completely vulnerable to the elements like that. But that's metaphorical too, right?
I think the way I definitely want to die. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before.
Yeah.
Is I absolutely want to. I'm just burping on the microphone. The way. I just want to be like, it's not. I don't think live burial is the right way to say it. A natural burial.
Live burial.
Actually, I prefer not that.
Yeah.
I think where they just 6 feet down, they put you in a burlap sack and they just chuck you in the clay.
Oh, so none of the fancy
No embalming, nothing like that. Yeah, just like I don't know.
Yeah, don't dress me up for that.
No.
Ugh,
no.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a very particular fit as well, and I feel like no person's gonna get that.
I got you. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I mean, unless you have a personal relationship with your local embalmer, it's kind of like they're not gonna make you look more like you. They're just gonna make you look more alive, which doesn't necessarily mean that you'll look like you.
No. Oh my God. So my dad's side of the family is Italian Catholic.
Open caskets.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Oh my God. My grandmother died. Jesus, dude. Like that was rough. The shit that they and this like kid came up and he was like not the intern, but he was new. And he's like, and he like came up to me and he's like, I was the one who embalmed your grandmother. I'm like, don't tell me that. Like, cool. Like, I appreciate you doing everything that you do.
Isn't that the first rule of embalmer school?
I feel like that should be. Yeah, like don't fucking tell people. He was so and he was like he felt it. I
cleaned her up nice and good for you.
Yeah, and I was like, you did not do good on the makeup there. But I guess I don't know if he was in charge of makeup, but somebody who did not know what they were doing was in charge.
But I mean, imagine the psychology, right? Like who is the kind of person that is like, oh yeah, that's like my line of work. That's what I'm like born to do.
I don't know. Yeah, you got to be okay with death. I mean, there's morgues all over the place. I mean, there's one right up the street.
That's right. I saw that. Yeah, I walked past it on my way here.
that hearse fucking rips around.
Right. I saw the hearse.
I've almost got hit by that hearse a few times. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't care. I think he's just looking for more work.
I've always liked the idea. I was like the idea of a hearse because you can fit a drum kit back there. It would be a solid touring vehicle. I don't know why more people haven't jumped on that.
People do. Have you seen it? You've seen it around.
Touring hearses, like rock bands touring out of a hearse.
Yeah, but there's not. There's not a lot of room.
I want to,
unless you're in like a 2-piece band. There's not like more seats.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I guess so.
Where are you from?
Where am I from? Yeah. I'm from Bellingham, Washington State.
Okay, Washington State.
Yeah,
okay.
Dude, it's. I mean,
what part? My parents live in Bremerton, Washington. Yeah. Do you know where that is?
Yeah, that's
Puget Sound.
Yeah, Puget Sound, pretty close to Seattle. Yeah, we're not too far off. I mean, you get that Canadian border right there, and I'm about 30 minutes under that.
Okay.
So pretty much the last, pretty much as far northwest as you can be and still be, within the borders of, what remains of this nation.
Okay. And how did you end up, where do I want to start?
Life story?
Yeah, well, how about this first?
Yeah.
When did you start playing music? What got you into music? When do you first pick up a guitar? When do you first start singing?
Yeah. I can't really remember, like, not playing guitar and not singing.
Wow.
That was diaper era.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because
in fact, yeah, my folks were very, very active musicians and still are to an extent. They're active performers now. I don't know if what they do is music.
You're gonna have to elaborate.
It's subjective. But yeah, I mean, what happened with me is what
do your parents perform now?
they're in like a kind of like, I call it performance art without the art. You know,
Okay.
they've
They're
got like
doing
this,
stuff in front of people.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, like the empty nester thing, they really took advantage of that and built up their like avant-garde, like, you know, 70s pomp ballad cover project with like pseudonyms and costumes, and I'm really happy for them. Yeah, they're doing really well.
That's sick.
They call themselves Fruit Cocktail.
Oh my god.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. No, I'm happy for those guys. But yeah, yeah, they were super into music. I became a, you know, a convert to the whole thing when I accidentally stumbled upon my dad's like there was like a VHS of like Kiss playing in 1977 on the Love Gun tour.
Okay.
And somehow, like, I was just old enough. I'm talking like literally 2 years old. I was just old enough to like figure out how to work the VHS player and put that thing in.
Hell yeah.
And it was just like, it was like this like sublime. I've had a couple sublime moments where it's just like, boom, you know, like
That's it.
the whole course is just altered from there. You
Okay.
know, I really don't think that there's many dimensions. You know, if you want to talk about Universe B and everything.
I mean, we're here to talk.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is Universe A for you right now?
This is Universe A, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, I'm digging it too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think about death too. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, I don't think about it as in a bad way.
No.
I
don't think
I just live basically in a graveyard.
right, exactly. You got all those spirits breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which honestly, like, it's chill. I've never had like a moment in this place where I've ever felt like the creeps.
I'm gonna do another one of these.
Yeah. which is fine.
Yeah.
I also live with a bunch of people, and like, you know, I can
Yeah,
hear
you're safe.
I can hear more humans.
They're
like,
all dead too.
yeah. Jesus fucking Christ. All right. What were some of your other sublime moments that changed the course
Sublime moments.
of your life?
I mean, you remember that that whole thing that happened where like I think they called it COVID-19.
No.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, there was this terrible thing that happened. Like a lot of people died, and other people's lives were made a lot better. Some people actually got rich.
Yeah.
Not
Not
but
us.
for me, like it was crucial because I've been like, you know, doing the performing and songwriting and all those things in tandem for years and years at that point.
Okay.
So you get to the pandemic era and it's like, okay, you can't play shows anymore, you know?
Okay.
And that kind of hit me like really, really hard because I was just used to kind of having those things all kind of operate in tandem together, you know? You write songs so you can record them and you can play them live and blah, blah, blah. It's the routine. So you can't do that anymore. And, you know, like I like to entertain. You know, it was
You're
always going to
entertaining.
be hard for me to not entertain.
Okay.
And so that hit me really, really hard at first. But I noticed that I kept writing songs anyway and stuff. And eventually I was like, well, you know, I want to be able to call myself like a creative. But I can't really do that if I don't practice it all the time. Yeah, I know, it's just got really deep really fast. But I can't call myself a creative if I'm not working on it like every day, you know?
Okay.
And so, you know, you fight with that. You got this terrible, like, the doubt feedback loop. Everybody who's ever made anything knows something about that.
Yeah.
And then one day, you know, that was the next sublime moment. I think it was just, you know, like I was.
What'd you do?
I just wrote a dumb song.
Oh.
It was a mediocre song, and then the next day I wrote another mediocre song.
So when did you start writing?
Oh, I started writing probably like 5 or 6 years old. I had like a guitar, and
What was your first song? Do you remember?
probably Teeny Tiny Babies. Yeah. Oh yeah. Closely followed by Magical World and Heavy Rockin' Guitar Man. You know, those are the OGs.
Those are all great names.
Classics.
Yeah.
Oh, classics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they're in the lexicon.
It's cool that you remember that too.
I could probably call them up. I could probably play one of them, but
Like I wrote this when I was 5. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that.
Yeah, there's got to be somebody.
I mean, I just said, you know,
they weren't very good. I don't think they were great songs by any means, but
well,
you
it
know.
shouldn't be.
No. Although I work with a lot.
Doesn't mean they weren't. But
I do work with a lot of 5-year-olds and 7-year-olds, 9-year-olds. You know, who I really think like if they
do you teach?
wrote a song, I do. Yeah, I teach rock and roll.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I just got back from the School of Rock in
cool.
Brooklyn,
Yeah.
Park Slope.
I used to teach drums for a long time.
Yeah. Did you like it? Understood.
I did it for 5 years, and a lot of that was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Over Zoom. And
yeah, teaching drums over Zoom.
Which honestly, it was
picture
like,
that.
It was fine.
Yeah.
It was great. I have a lot of incredible students.
Yeah.
And then also when people started wanting to come over to my house and play, I was like, I don't now I'm so used to this. I don't want anybody to like. Yeah.
Right.
And I was just realizing like that's not why I got into music. But the school rock thing has always been a cool thing. Also, you're a songwriter, so it's like you can find the value of getting. I mean, I did find the value of like playing songs I didn't necessarily like, but
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about like you know, looking at all that stuff from like a songwriting perspective. Absolutely. No, I've had that hit me time and time again, but you know, I think I'm probably gonna teach like regardless of whether or not I'm teaching rock and roll. You know, that just feels right.
That's awesome.
You know, it really does.
I mean, I've definitely looked into working there.
Yeah.
But
give me a call.
Yeah, you know, doing this theater thing right now, but
yeah.
Who knows? I ended up in it, and now I'm like learning a bunch about live sound, and I never wanted to be a live like engineer for like music because I was like I just want to be the guy on the stage. Yeah. Like, but with actors, I have zero desire to be an actor. Like, I seeing what they have to do. Like, there's nothing. Well, especially theater too. It's like they have to do the same exact thing every night, if not twice a day, 6 days a week. Yeah. And it's like, I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. I can play the same show every night. Yeah. But there's like the nuance of it, and especially in rock and roll, it's like people kind of like the mess ups and stuff like that. It's like an actor will beat them
for saying that.
People will beat the shit out of themselves as an actor if they like tweaked a line. Yeah, like they want to do it perfect every single night. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, there has to be, you know, they have to be challenging themselves a little bit by doing that, and I think the challenge of that consistency is probably, you know, is probably pretty fulfilling for them. But I'm with you. I gotta mix it up a little bit. And it's, for me, it's that entertainer's bug again, where it's just like, you know, if I'm not entertaining myself, then how the hell am I going to convince all these people that they should be entertained too? Yeah. And like, if I'm, you know, doing the same line every night, then I'm no longer really entertaining myself.
Yeah, and it's the exact same line. But I'm trying to like wrap my head around, because like obviously like we like actors. Like, you know, we watch movies. We, you know, there's a deep connection that you feel. I did watch a documentary. I cannot remember the person's name right now, but she's a thinker, she's a writer or whatever, but she said the people who get the most like love and adornment are musicians. 'Cause they would you not agree? Out of all the creative arts. Why? Basically, it's like you were the soundtrack to their life at some point. You had a song come out or whatever at some point, and especially if it's a lot of people, you know, and it's like, this was the summer of this. And that was, you know, this quote pops into my head, or it's like, art is what, you know, decorates space, and music is what decorates time.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah,
I heard that one. Recently.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah, I hesitate to even go here, but like, do you think that that's at a certain level kind of dependent on the music industry being what it has been in the past, and that, like, you know, with the model being now, it's kind of like, you know, Ed Sheeran and then everybody else, Do you think that changes that dynamic where it's like, well, you were my summer or something? Because, I guess the farther and farther I get down into this hole, and the farther and farther that the music industry fades to black, I consider the concept of audience less and less. Yeah, I really do feel like I'm working for like an audience of one, or maybe an audience of like 2 or 3. My closest collaborators, like I want to like make something that all 3 of us are proud of, and that's it.
Which is in general the way you should do it.
I don't want to get into shoulds, but yeah, I'm totally with you.
I mean, if it doesn't make you, if you don't want to listen to it, if you and your best friends doesn't mean that people don't burn out on their own, sauce. Doesn't matter how fucking good you are And there's some musicians who are, the best, quote unquote the best, that can't even listen to their voice. But I think that's just like how it goes.
Yeah.
But in general, like just for example, you meet somebody at a show, it's your friend's gig. Somebody, one of your friends comes to your gig, and they meet somebody, and they have a spark, and they go home with that person, and that person they end up dating, and then that, it's like they will always, you were a soundtrack to that moment, just as one specific example.
Totally.
That's special.
Oh yeah,
that doesn't happen in a movie theater. Well, usually, I mean.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna.
Unless you got some serious game, like.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, there's definitely visual, the visual stuff that like really alters our path. Sure. I would say that like something like a Blue Velvet probably influenced my songwriting just as much as a lot of musical artists.
It was, by the way, I just remembered it. Franz Lebowitz.
Yeah.
Lebowitz?
Okay.
It was. She was just talking. She's like, yeah, musicians got the best because they like everybody loves musicians. Like,
yeah, I guess it's the concentration here. Like in this 1 mile radius that we're in. Yeah. That kind of like throws everything that I know about musicians kind of into question because. But I guess actors would probably say the same thing. People going to acting school, they create this like little micro culture, right? Yeah. That kind of blurs all of our perspectives, you know? So it's really hard for me to comment on like how good musicians have it when it's like, for me, it's just all day, every day. I'm pretty much just around musicians. And a lot of times it can be like, you can notice people being insufferable, and then in my case, I can always notice myself being insufferable too.
Oh yeah, but it's that's part of the game. But also, like everything's temporary, everything's fleeting. You never what you're doing in your life right now is not necessarily what you're going to be doing forever. It's I'm not saying you're not going to play music but I'm just saying like you being around musicians constantly. Sure. Because I moved here in February, and like I was really only hanging out with musicians before, and now I'm like kind of building my musician friends repertoire up. That's why I invited you over. So thanks for coming.
Thank you again. No.
How the hell did you move here? What was the reason?
Well, I spent a long time trying to figure that out. And I advice that I have for anybody who like is thinking about, going that way and like doing the whole like I'm going to move to New York thing is like, if you have a reason to do it, like if you have like a bona fide reason that like, like, oh, well, I want to work this job that doesn't exist anywhere other than possibly New York and maybe LA or something like that, then yeah, you should do it. But if it's just kind of like on a whim, I don't know, I think that folks might be setting themselves up for like a little bit of like, disappointment maybe. But
dude, it's a hard place to live.
Oh, Yeah.
I think this is something I've been thinking about lately, and I don't tweet. I don't really like put my views out there in any other way other than on the podcast.
Yeah.
Which, you know, people do listen to. More people listen to this than I actually know. Like, because sometimes some people hit me up and be like, yeah. But I think when people complain about living in New York City, it's hilarious. They're like, this sucks. I'm like, just move. Like, it's like we don't need, you don't need to be here. It's very expensive and hard to live here. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. Like,
yeah.
Like, even if you're a good friend of mine, it's like just like do yourself a favor. It's hard.
Yeah. No, totally. And
like I'm drawn to this place. Like, I'm very like I could not have lived here like 5 years ago.
Right. It's
I'm 20. I'm 29.
Place.
How old are you?
26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like drawn. Like, I could not be living here when I was 25. I was too crazy.
Yeah.
And now I have enough life experience, and I'm like more set in myself where I'm like, this place makes sense.
Hell yeah.
And like, I'm doing decently well out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say so.
I got so lucky. This is pure luck right here.
Yeah. Well, but you believe in that though? Like, how much do we buy the pure luck thing? I mean, you know.
I mean, I tried, you know, but I met good people, and like, you know, the two people I live with, they're awesome, and yeah, I lucked out. But also, there's a lot of amazing people out here.
Yeah. No, I hope I you know, I don't want to ever seem like I'm complaining about living here, you know. It's just, you know, it is just really, really, you know, it's really not easy.
Why did you move out here though? Like, what was the original reason? Like, yeah,
I mean, I moved out here to just for the same reason that I do anything or move anywhere, which is just to like, how is this gonna, like, you know, like, how is this gonna influence my work, and, you know, like, how am I gonna internalize this and like, you know, make some really little catchy little pop songs out of it, you know. That's kind of what it's about for me. It's like, you know, I'm not super hell-bent on like self-promotion. Like, I didn't move here to get like a wider, you know, audience for my records, but I definitely came here to see like how much I could improve on that, and how many people, you know, I could meet and get to know that would help me improve on that sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, ideally, I think I have the ideal right now where I'm like working on the tunes all the time, and then, you know, working with the youth, you know, working with the kids of America.
Yeah.
You know? It's like that, and
bringing them rock and roll, or
exactly. Yeah. You know, I'm teaching them fucking Blink-182 songs or whatever they want.
Which are sick.
Yeah. You know. So yeah, you know, I think I've gotten into a good rhythm with it. I moved here last September, so September 2022. Yeah. No. Yes, 2022.
I don't know why when you said 2022, I was like, that how you say that? But it is
2022. Yeah.
We're getting older.
The year of our Lord. Yes, we are, Zen.
Dude, you put out 3 albums this year. Is that right?
Pretty much. Couple of those were singles. I don't know. I mean, the way I see, I put out 1 album this year.
You put out
full length.
Burn Out Loud,
yeah.
Awake Right Now
was last year.
That was last year?
2022.
Okay.
The year of our Lord. 2000.
And what is B and what is A? What is
B and C?
B and C.
Yeah. So,
I told you this was a very last minute interview.
I dig it. No, I'm, you know, like,
it's why you're here. You had to explain this.
Honored to talk about.
I don't know how to read
stuff
on Spotify.
You know Peter Gabriel, right?
Yes.
He's like early on, like Peter Gabriel's solo work is like he's kind of putting out like series of albums.
Gotcha.
You know, and if you look at the covers, they kind of all have like the same imagery. You know, up to a point. I think that it's like the first 4 kind of have like really, you know, everything's written in the same font. It looks like a magazine, you know, it looks like the cover of a magazine. And that really appealed to me, like making like a series of records. You know, it wasn't like, so they all kind of like live in the same universe, you know? And so B, C, Awake Right Now. Those three were kind of recorded at the same time, using the same equipment and the equipment being used by the same, numbskull
Same
operating
brain,
it.
Same general time and the same ish you.
Yeah. They were coming out of this like pandemic era Vincent in like Portland, Oregon, who was just like.
You were in Portland?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I was born on the West Coast and everything, Bellingham, and so I went to school. Finished up, got my philosophy degree from Portland State University.
Oh yeah.
And and so I finished up those songs there during that hectic time. Just basically like waiting for, a friend of mine who had all the studio gear, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.
For him to like basically leave town so I could so it was safe to just go in his basement and work in his space,
That's incredible.
Because it was a very, very touchy time with the sickness and everything, so you really had to work around a lot. But,
so did you record that all during COVID?
Yeah. A lot of the songs have been written for years, but it was just like, okay, time to finish all this shit up,
Yeah.
So I wrapped that up and then just like got it mastered, mixed really quickly. I mixed it and then had my really old friend.
The production quality.
It's awful.
No, it's absolutely insane. It's so good.
The early,
I popped it on the theater speakers at this.
What, you talking about Burnout?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a different. That we're going into the next series. There.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you were asking about the Portland, those records with the collage album covers.
So you were in
stuff.
Portland for COVID.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, for the majority of it. But those three records, the B record, the C record, and Awake Right Now, all came out of that period. And so, you'll notice that the album covers look kind of similar, and it's the same kind of cast of characters, and they all have this really not good production quality.
Okay.
Because I was using the Tascam 4-track and everything, and
sick.
Just basically doing whatever I could within the limitations.
And you were learning, and you're like seeing like what you could do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very, like I would call it experimental, but that implies that, like there's some kind of cerebral, No, it was just like, how can I just record this song so I can move on?
That's a way to say it. It's experimental because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the only thing that's experimental about it. So I moved out to the East Coast after that. And started working on.
You moved to New York City during COVID?
No, I moved to Boston during COVID. I lived in Boston for like a year.
Why did you want to move to Boston during COVID?
I needed a place to escape from Portland.
Okay.
And
what were you not liking about Portland? Or are you just over it?
I mean, no, I loved Portland. I was living with an ex-girlfriend of mine, and I needed, we were writing out this lease. So I hit the road. And I moved all the way to Boston because my oldest friend in the world and collaborator, Tanner Wallace,
shout out Tanner.
Yeah, offered me a room in his 7-bedroom rock and roll house in Boston. Everybody was a musician, and after living with just one human being who was not a musician for such a long time, it was kind of like, okay, well, what would be the farthest, the working. I like to operate in extremes. Yeah, exactly. So drove out to Boston, moved in, and instantly just started working with Tanner again, and started working with our friend Zach Lichman, who played the drums on Burn Out Loud. And by the end of that year in Boston, we had tracked that record.
Sick.
And it was just all those tunes we just really internalized and had a really strong feeling about. And then we came here, mixed it, put it out, and now we're working on the next one. You know, it never stops. The rock never stops, Zen.
It's
It
great.
never stops.
I mean,
Nonstop rock.
it sounds so good.
Doesn't it?
It
Okay,
sounds
so
amazing.
I feel like I can talk about how good that record sounds because I didn't have anything to do with like the way that the record sounds, you know, like Tanner, you know, really laid it out, arranged it, you know, gave it sort of a mix. And then I sent it to an old friend of mine in Seattle who like really hooked me up with like a deluxe prime like mixing job. It's like, again, contrast, right?
Yeah.
The contrast of the way that that record sounds compared to the the three that came before it with this really scattershot lo-fi Tascam sound. It's just like, I love that, you know?
Yeah.
Because like I feel like for you know, for my material, it's like, well, it really represents I can do this thing and I can do this thing too, and it feels really good to just like expand like that.
Yeah.
know?
I just finished Rick Rubin's book today.
The Creative Act.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I've
It was
heard about
incredible.
it. Yeah.
It's really like it should. I feel like when I see a lot of his clips online, I'm like, hey, he's coming off very preachy, but which is fine.
Yeah.
If anybody kind of has maybe earned the right to, it's somebody who's worked with every style of music possible and made some incredible stuff that really lasts in people's lives. You know.
Yeah.
So he's you know, he gets a pass. But one of the last things that I read in the book that was quite interesting, and it kind of pertained to the mixing process. He makes it available to every sort of artist, but he kind of goes through a musical lens about the mixing or like the final product. Like letting somebody else do that is almost like, it's like very important unless you're specifically trying to learn something. But like, I don't know, giving it like a new fresh life, and somebody can take away the things that are unnecessary.
Yeah.
Just that was an example they used. He says it much more eloquently.
No. The message comes across though. Yeah, because like, you know, I will not pretend to be an audio engineer. You know, I just don't think I have the detail oriented mindset for something like that. But I have known audio engineers who like are like, okay, you know, I got my stuff tracked finally. Like now it's time for me to mix my own record, you know, and I'm just like, whoa, you know, like, that is going to take you years.
Yes.
I don't have that kind of time.
No.
That's the thing with the way that I'm working right now is that my whole thing is like trying to stay on top of the backlog, you know?
Yeah, you probably have so many songs.
Oh my God. At this point, I probably have more songs that are just sitting there ready to be recorded than anything that's on the internet.
Yeah. I feel like, because as a drummer, there was a while where I was just a professional drummer, which is one of the more miserable parts of my life.
Before you were audio engineer too?
I don't consider myself an audio engineer. I very much ended up doing audio for theater.
Okay.
On a very random circumstance, and and they still haven't caught me. That I really don't know what I'm doing. Like somebody was like, "Oh yeah, can you take out the 4K and this thing and that and that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, YouTube, like, how the fuck do I do that? Like, but
fraud. It's what makes this city go around, man.
Yeah, no, it's just fake it till you make it. No, that's kind of thing. I totally forgot where I was going with that. But
drumming,
yes.
Yeah.
I was a professional drummer for a while. I was in like 8 bands at a time, and it was, and I was playing with a lot of music that I just didn't like. Yeah. And I'm not like, we have every kind of musician on this podcast. Like, we have grindcore to jazz to hip hop to everything. We've had everything. I don't mind that, but it's like people who, especially in the town I was living in, Santa Cruz, California, it's like a lot of people who were hiring me, it's just because no drummer wanted to work with them. So I was like, well, if you pay me, I'll be that guy. Which felt like I was just squeezing money out of somebody who's just really trying to do something passionate, and I didn't want to be that guy. I was trying to do a nice thing, but also it hurt.
Yeah.
I didn't want my friends to come to the shows. I was like, this is embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I've noticed that, like, you know, if I can really tell that somebody's really passionate about what they're doing and they're like worth working with, then like the music gets better the more that I consider like how, because if that person has any like persuasion ability at all. It's like you can kind of persuade me to like your music,
yeah.
If you like it enough.
The caliber of musician in New York City is, I think, just much higher than many other places.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Like this sounds weird, but
you want to talk
Tetchy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was one of my first nights here, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to a venue. I don't care who's playing. I'm not even gonna look at who's playing. And I saw them play, and I was like, What
was the venue?
St. Vitus.
Oh wow!
I love St. Vitus. I mean, I'm not like a metalhead,
no,
per se, because
But St. Vitus is like, I feel like, I mean, I've never played there or been there, but like, I think the misconception is that it's like a strictly metal bar, which is definitely not.
There's incredible rock acts that play there. Like I saw All Them Witches. Which is like I've seen them there. They're incredible. They have a lot of like cool rock shows too.
Right. And I think that, for the record, I think that Tetchy is the sort of band that like could swing it in a metal bar,
Yeah, absolutely. I think their Instagram says we play very, very quiet and very, very loud.
It's very true. Yeah. Yeah, Maggie's got that whisper scream down, she can
yeah.
I'm still working on that, but I know. I've seen them several times, and big fan.
And they're all very sweet people too.
And just amazing musicians.
Yeah, and they just the aura and the musicians that they're around, like when I started looking into a new musician, like they're of course they're already like following them and interacting with them online and stuff like that. I'm like, so I'm like just getting into the music scene out here. It's like, it's incredible. I've got to play some really killer shows with Kate Brunot's, and I'm just starting to write music of my own. I'm finally singing.
Yes.
Singing and playing drums, which is super fun. But I do want to get in some rock projects again, like just a good like rock.
Very nice.
It's weird to talk about because it's your most played song on Spotify. Blah 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 blah. That's not all she wrote.
Yeah.
Why does that song slap so hard? It doesn't matter who I played. When I played that at the theater, like while people were setting up, this is like pre-show when we're all kind of like doing our like pre-show things. Everybody starts moving, man. It was like,
serious?
Yeah. Oh my god. I mean, it's funky as shit. First off, second off, like the lyrics are incredibly catchy, and it feels like there's more to that song than meets the eye.
Okay.
Because you start talking about God, and you started talking about, it's like that's what was the inspiration behind that song? Yeah. What's the whole deal with it? What's the deal with that song?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that about that one. I have a strong, kinship with that tune. But I mean, I think to an extent, probably the most calculated thing that I've done,
Okay.
Because it was basically like, what if I mashed all these Sly and the Family Stone songs together? And being a white man, I got something that sounded more like Hall & Oates. But no.
A couple times there. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like it was very much just like, well, all of these things are sick, you know, and so I think if I, got the right, sound on the keyboard and everything.
So you play the keyboard on it as well?
Yeah, I played the keys on that, and
what don't you play?
I don't play sitar.
You don't play
I can't
sitar?
play a lick of sitar.
Good, because
lick of sitar is pretty good.
Yeah.
I like that. But yeah, I mean, like you come across these kind of titles in nature, just like these like really kind of like, oh, that's a title of a song, you know. And that's like how it usually starts for me. Yeah. It's like, because you get a hook from there, and everything else can just kind of fall into place. Like I can't really say much about the lyrics, just because like that was,
How do you write lyrics?
Well, I mean, I think that process kind of it does itself at first, you know, like you kind of just have to decide to write lyrics, you know, and then
I like that.
You know, and
I agree.
Of course it varies, right? It's
Yeah.
like it definitely differs depending on the tune. But you know, it just kind of you make yourself do it, and then from there you can kind of, you know, you can kind of edit things. That's what I feel like. That's what a lot of writers don't really give themselves any credit for. It's because they feel like, you know, if they're gonna write lyrics, then they have to be these like profound, you know, blah blah blah. I don't worry about any of that stuff. I just have to like get something down before I go to bed, you know.
Yeah.
I have to like, you know, write something or do something. And so a lot of times it's just like, you know, kind of this like journal entry from outer space, you know, and then, you know, when I'm able to attach like a melody or something to it, then I can start kind of tweaking, you know, the lyrics and
to work along with that.
yeah, and I keep doing, you know, that is like a never-ending process. Even after the record is out, you know, the lyrics will still be tweaked and stuff.
Yeah.
In very minor ways.
Like
but-
when you play them live or whatever.
Yeah, or if I'm just playing them, you know, at home on the arm of my couch or something. It's just like, you know, things are going to be a little bit different. Just kind of like what we were saying about the actors.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to do that. I don't want to, you know, feel like I have to sing "That's Not All She Wrote" or something like exactly the way, you know, it's gonna change. It's a living document.
Yeah. I
know?
do feel like I hear like 7 different singers in that song.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And that's all me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do all the singing.
Yeah. And the start of that record,
yeah.
the first song, how the hell did you get those vocals so high?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's just like Tanner Wallace studio majesty. I mean, I guess I definitely told him like what I wanted, you know.
And you were going for that. I mean,
sure.
Dude, it sounded incredible. Like,
well, I mean, you know, Ween.
Yeah.
You know, and they're always going like a little bit lower, you know, for at the dawn I woke, I was alone, or like Ocean Man or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same concept, but it's just going a little bit higher instead, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know why, it just sounded right.
You know? It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's such a cool concept that you did. The whole album, like start to finish, is like, it was great. You could tell you really thought about it.
Thank you, Zen. Yeah, we did.
Like,
we did.
What are you trying to do? What do you like? What's the? Are you trying to do anything? Are you just trying to put out albums that you like, or?
Yeah. I really do think I'm just trying to see how long I can sustain just like, you know, doing that. I mean, it's for me it's a little bit of like a childhood fantasy still, you know, because I've been
to do this.
Yeah, just
people love your music too.
Getting in the habit of it because I've just been doing it for so long that it kind of does just feel like second nature a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Of course I'm going to write songs. I've been writing songs since I was 5, you know, and I think a lot of people out there could probably resonate with that, you know. Like a lot of times, you know, these people, you know, we're talking about the scene here. It's like we kind of think that because we're meeting these people right now that we're all kind of like starting out, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that, like, you know, if you talk to these people a little bit more, especially the ones that, you know, are really, really dedicated, like those guys or what have you. But like, we've all been, you know, we've all taken some like real big like steps to, you know, this is just another step, you know?
Yeah.
So like, as far as what like my ultimate, you know, message or, you know, or my goal for it is just like, yeah, like this is what gives my life meaning.
Yeah.
You know, there's no way around that. And so, if it ain't going to be this, then it has to be something else. And I've never really taken to anything else. This is the thing that I've kind of taken to, you know? And so that's why I do it, all day, every day. And that comes with its own challenges for sure. But,
because I feel like you mentioned, you know, just being around musicians all the time, and that's
Yeah.
I personally like the like, we keep on talking about contrast, but like talking to different sorts of people and like gaining life experiences.
Yeah.
And are you happy?
Yeah, I would say I'm happy right now. I'm not satisfied.
All right.
You know, and I don't think I should be satisfied.
Okay.
You know, I think if I'm satisfied, then it's probably going to slow me down a lot, you know?
Yeah.
And it's going to change the way the records sound too. I think the records maybe, you know, hopefully they sound like an unsatisfied person, you know?
Yeah.
A little bit. But yeah, I would say like in contrast, you know, to, you know, where I've been at before, I'm actually pretty happy right now. You know, I've got a really good thing going at, you know, at my place of residence as well. And, just, you know, surrounded by a ton of great people. And, you know, I've got a lot of problems with a lot of stuff, you know,
like what?
The critical mindset is never lets up. Well, I mean, Instagram is a big problem for me, you know, like I don't like that there's one place that I can just access by, you know,
well, there's
just
not.
tapping it, and I get to see.
There's 12 if you feel like doing them all.
What do you mean? 12
plate. If you're talking about Instagram.
Oh, sure, yeah. There's a whole bunch of. Well, yeah. I'm using Instagram as like maybe the example that I'm.
Everybody wants to get big on that, but Instagram is like the hardest one to crack into, and at this point, because it's like. It's been around like the longest, and it's always been seen as like the pinnacle. But like if you go on, like people are loving Facebook right now.
Oh yeah.
I don't go on Facebook, but there's a supply and demand issue. You know, it's like there's so much on Instagram.
Right.
It's hard to rise to the top.
Right. So like it's a big problem for me that the place that I see like where your band is going to play next weekend is the same place that I see that there's like children on, you know, like trapped under rubble. And then it's like your cat telling me to go see your show. And then it's your cat telling me about the children under rubble. Yeah. You know, like
not to mention the nice pictures of our friends' butts.
Friends' butts.
It's a very jarring experience.
Friends' butts telling you that there's children under rubble. You know, it's like the idea that all of that is like in the same venue. And like I'm not a saint. I promote my shows and I look at the fucking thing all the time. Because it is kind of what our brains want, is everything just kind of in the same spot, no matter how, like.
Creatures of habit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, no, it really bothers me. It really bothers me.
Yeah, I think.
Advertising really bothers me, you know. When I go on the train and it, you know, or like wherever you know, you can go anywhere you want. It really, really bothers me. I'm the kind of guy who's like, when I buy a bottle of shampoo, I have to take the labels off of it, you know, because like
you don't want to be drawn to whatever.
Showering is one of the first things I do in the morning, and like I can't.
There's advertisements in there.
Yeah, exactly. I can't have advertisements in my shower. You know, like that has to be like a place of, you know, of
showering,
right? Of serenity, if you will.
Just
shower
just
serenity.
Water.
Yeah, just water, right?
Yeah, I of the people who I have talked to, like, I get a lot of knowledge off this podcast. Doesn't mean I use any of it. But of the people who I talk to who do that shit the best, advertising and especially social media wise. When they go on social media, they post like 6-7 things, and then they just like or comment on their friends' things, and they just get the fuck off it and then get back to work. That's which is nearly impossible for me. Yeah. Which, first off, like posting more than one thing a week even is like hard for me. Yeah, I mean, I admire the economy in that method of using that tool, because that's what at the end of the day that is what it's become for, you know, musicians. It's kind of like a hammer. You can hit yourself in the head with it, or you can like build a house. Yeah, I like that. That's not too bad. Like I said, I have all this knowledge. I don't use it. No. But I see what you mean, and it's like, you know, if we all used it, if we all agreed to use it as just a tool,
to you know.
Well, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, and it's
off,
like yeah, you know, and once you get people's emotions involved, you know, it's like it's really hard to like use it as a tool when you're also trying to do this more like pathos based posting, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, just like all the you know, it is kind of performative ethics.
Yes.
Like I feel like there should be a space for that, because we need to have a, you know, that discussion, and we need to talk about what we believe in and what is going on that is wrong. But I disagree with it being in the same conversation as like, okay guys, like my band is playing at the fucking Rubelite on Wednesday, you know? It's like, you know, so if we all just agreed to use it as a tool for that kind of superficial stuff, like coming to see my band, you know.
Yeah, it's where the attention is, and that's why it's you know, I got a lot of friends, and they're very like upset that, no, I mean, they haven't specifically reached out to me. They're upset that more of their friends aren't saying more about the travesties that are going on. But I truly feel like nobody's fucking listening to us when it comes to anything about like the fact that there's billions. I mean, we can go into this. I don't want to go too far into this. Yeah, there's billions of dollars that are going to fight things rather than like help the regular people that are around here. Yeah. But it's like they're just not listening to us at all. But I think that's truly why I think like art and music and stuff like that brings people together is like such an important thing to pay attention to. And it's like, it's the only thing that actually is going to bring us together. Like talking about war and violence and who's right, who's wrong. You know what's better is like you meet somebody at a show or a bar or something like that doesn't have the same viewpoints as you, but you are at the same place, and then you end up talking, and then you're like, I can see what you're saying, and then you kind of meet in the middle. Ideally, that's what art and community brings. Yeah, more or less. You don't see people just fighting in you know, venues typically, you know. If you do, it's, you know, there's usually alcohol involved, and it's usually dumb as shit. It's like not a typical thing. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I mean, I think that, you know, obviously, like, activism is so much better than the lack of activism, you know. But it does like force us to examine like what is the meaning of that word, and like, you know, is posting 4 times on Instagram a day about, you know, again, you know, children of the rebel. I mean, you know, what does that accomplish? You know, especially when it's side by side with "Come to my show." Yeah, exactly. I don't think either of them are wrong on their own, but I think that when you put them together like that and expect them to kind of, you know, coexist on the same, like, you know, what's the word, dystopian format, it gets pretty wrecked. I agree. You got all week. Yeah. Yeah. That is kind of what I mean, I think the best podcasts are people who are most candid in general. Like it's like, yeah, we could talk about I could just ask you the most boring shit ever. No. Yeah. But the way that you answer things, like, you know, just like when you're in a natural environment, or just even with yourself, is a lot different than the way that you're going to answer something with this third, you know, this third party. Yeah, it makes it more fun. It's also like, you know, our words have meaning and value, and I've talked about this on the podcast. I've been called out for some things I've said. Never like truly, the people who called me out were not necessarily doing it for the right reason. And it was, I've talked about this before. It's dumb shit. I was just talking about how gentrification exists, and some white dude was like, that's racist, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But he's, and shit like that, but it's like, your words have value, and I think we need to hear more from musicians. And like, I don't see a lot of people doing necessarily what I'm doing on this podcast, and I think that's why I'm doing exactly what I want to do too. Like, I just want to shoot the shit with people. We're all so busy, especially like when you're a musician or an artist or a creator. Like, I talk to chefs as well and stuff like that. You're too busy to like just go and talk to somebody at a bar. I feel like that was something that back in like, the 70s or 80s or something like that. It's like before we had social media and you were constantly getting emails about this or that, and you had all these obligations. Like, it was more commonplace to just like talk to a wider net of people if you're living in a place like New York City. But now it's like I had a scheduled time. Like, yeah, I wanted to hang out with you before, but it's like, it's hard. I know you're busy. I'm busy.
Yeah.
But having this, like, brings value to the general scene, and like people who are trying to create things that are good in the world is the way I see it. So yeah, and I like people being candid, like, and also everybody else does too. It's like, people love seeing people's, Rick Rubin, another thing in this book, he's like, yeah, if you write, or if you make something that's artistic, that's like dirty, like a lot of sides of yourself are not okay for polite public. And he's like,
if
and
you're
that's
doing it right,
and he's like, and that's okay. And like, and if you feel the need to make something that's involved with that, like, other people will resonate with that. So it's like, just fucking be yourself. Like, I totally agree. Maybe I'm questioning the being, because I'm going to be myself either way, because I don't know another way. I've never really experimented with a different option than that. I think, your alter ego persona, which is not even that different. You're just a fucking rock and roll god. Like, I love the way you do your shit. Yeah. Like, dude, your voice sounds so good. You're so good at playing music, and you have such a great ear for musical choices in all those realms. So
thank you, Zen. Jesus. But it's like people who do this kind of stuff all the time, maybe they're more used to being like the fullest, most realized version of themselves with that added pressure, which I'm not gonna I'm not gonna lie about. Like, that's a real thing? Hey, you're a real thing.
Yeah, this is going on the internet.
Yeah, that's a real,
all the flaws, but it's like, that's just, that's what it is. And
it's not that I'm not doing a good job, because I'm doing a good job, and I don't think I've said anything that I want to take back yet.
Cool.
But there's still time.
There is.
Yeah.
I actually do. I have a few more questions. I mean, thank you thank you again so much for being here.
Oh, Zen,
thanks for making it out.
It's awesome. I love.
Well, first off, I have to say that how I found you was it was like a summer day.
Yeah, good story.
It was a nice summer day. I walked into Purgatory. The sun was still out. Like, yeah. And I walked in, and I was like vibing to the music. I was like, "This is sick!" Yeah. Like, and I didn't go with anybody. I was just it was like a post work thing. I was jamming out, and I was like, "This is sick." I kept on listening, and it was your album listening party or something like that.
It was the listening party at Purgatory, yeah.
And it was
and I was working the door.
Oh.
I was working the door. See, that was calculated. I was like, I got to work the door for this, so I'm not just like sitting at the bar, being like, oh, I hope everybody likes my record, Like, no, it was very intentional that I would work the door, and so people could just, talk shit about the record behind my back, and I wouldn't know, because, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
but like people could just do their own thing and not have to be like...
I had no reason to... I had no reason to say anything nice or negative about it.
Yeah.
I was just there for I was just there for a beer and a shot.
Yeah,
like, exactly. I was just there. Like, and I was like, this is sick. And I think I just ended up talking to you, and you're like, this is me. I was like, damn, dude, are you serious? Like, because it sounds like a fully fledged. Well, the thing I equated it to was white denim.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, it sounds like white denim. But honestly, I think it's a more nuanced version of white denim. I think white denim is more of like a. If they ever watch this, I think they sound very polished, and I think they have.
They've got this very white denim thing happening.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
well, that's the best way I could possibly think to say it.
Yeah. No, I've always thought of them as like, like if the Black Keys learned how to like really play.
Yeah.
I've seen those guys live, and they just, I mean, they'll go up there.
Was it Patrick?
They'll just play like 2.5 hours. White denim, that is. I've seen them live, and it's just like, they'll just play for like 2.5 hours, just pretty much without stopping.
Yeah.
At all. They'll just kind of play between the two, between songs, and then go back into it. So I mean, that's that's one of my favorite bands that's worked in the last 10 years, and so being compared to them is like a huge, Like I really appreciate that. Man,
it's so fun. We went on so many tangents. I have so many more questions for you.
Do you want to do? Should we do really short answer round? I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know where
I feel like there's a lot of questions that you asked me that I totally didn't answer either. That I like really made my way around.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I'm a politician.
That's all. I do want to say, like, once I get some more gear.
Yeah.
Once I have when I can. By the way, we have a Patreon. If you feel like buying me another one of those mics, so we have to use 2 different types of mics. And you can find that shit, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. I would love to just have like a round table of just like a bunch of musicians.
Yeah.
Like that are all different genres and shit like that, and just shoot the shit. Mm-hmm. I think that'd be so fun and weird.
Yeah.
It could go terrible. But who does that?
Yeah, I've never seen. I mean,
like,
yeah,
that's the thing.
Bill Maher show, Where it's like,
yeah. Well, fuck that guy. But
yeah, fuck that guy, indeed. But I love it. I think it would work out really well, actually.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, you come off to me and as to other people, but I know you're not this person. It's like somebody who's just like a die hard. I'm just rock and roll, like or rock, or just like soul 70. Like you're like, I haven't listened to anything past the 2000s, which I know is absolutely not true. And that's the thing. You care about the music scene. You care about the people. And whenever I see you out at Purgatory with people, you're around a bunch of very nice people from all walks of life. And I think that's the way to do it. Like, you gotta know what you want to make and what you want to do, but you gotta like be in the scene, or whatever scene of the world, like
the scene of the world. That's the only music scene that I want to be in. Like my earliest experiences with like the concept of a music scene were like really not great, and I think it was because of like whatever you're saying, like about giving off the kind of persona that you haven't listened to any music since, like after 1989.
Yeah.
And that's been a struggle, and that was definitely like alienating early on in Washington, and I got a lot of flack for that vibe.
Yeah.
And so it's always been kind of a point of discomfort for me, like, having to operate within like a little micro culture of like what's cool here, and I've never been able to really do that, and so but I think that's a good I've always thought like, oh, that's a good sign, that I'm not like able to like kind of like just be just a part of a scene,
yeah. And I whenever I get put into a box about something, it's like that's the second I want to break out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hopefully it's a natural instinct.
Yeah, well, I'm just starting to get to the point where I'm like, I know what kind of music I want to make, and man, I mean, more or less, it always kind of goes back to rock and roll, and that's like, but that's the way I describe myself is I'm a pop rock drummer. I'm okay with that. Like
fuck does that
but
mean?
It took me a while, you know, because like when I went to a high school, there was like a very music centered high school. It wasn't private or anything like that, but it was a new school. They had a ton of like, for whatever reason, all these musicians started working there.
Yeah.
And everybody came out of them. You know the band Chon?
Yeah,
it was super
that's
math.
familiar.
Super math.
Super mathy, right.
And that was like huge in my school. It was math, and like the scene culture in my school was huge. So like it was so funny because at freshman year everybody was dressed up as like scene, and then like by junior year everybody was like fuck that. Like,
it still happens too. There's
now it's coming back. I mean that was like 2008. You know, it's like we're kind of almost getting into that cycle again.
Sure,
because now you know where the cycles are for like Gen Z. It's like kind of 90s alt rock.
It manifests itself in all kinds of. Oh my god! Don't even get me started.
Yeah, new metal is definitely rearing its head again.
New metal sucks. Terrible music. It always has been. Always will be.
See, I found the one thing that pissed me off. There you go. There's always
the
something.
one thing that pissed me off. You were gonna say.
You haven't said anything yet. You've been nothing but super agreeable this whole time.
You think so? Oh man, okay, I'm sorry. I got it. Okay, all right. I got to step it up a little bit. No. Well, you know, like if you disagree with the amount of stuff that I disagree with, you got to kind of find your ways to kind of, you know, put your little.
Apparently new metal was that.
Oh my god. I mean, I think that the culture of like irony that involves that like the culture of irony that revolves around that new metal, like liking new metal, because no one does it like seriously.
I don't agree with that.
Most of the people that I know,
I think unfortunately for you, dude, like, people like love it.
Break stuff actually kind of fucks.
Yeah,
you know, it's like I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand it, and also the irony thing I think is pretty bad. It's a pretty bad way of things, you know. No, I mean.
Oh my god! You know, okay, I love this.
Yeah, there's this culture of irony that revolves around that whole meme thing or whatever, and I think that it's really, I think the lack of sincerity maybe is what it is. Maybe not the irony, but the lack of sincerity I think is very dangerous.
I was not a new. I mean, I probably will listen to way more new metal than you, but I had a bass player in a band, the last band I was in California, and he's obsessed with Korn.
Mm-hmm.
And he genuinely like loves it, but he's also an extremely well-rounded musician, incredible bass player. But he was like, Zen, I really want you to like kind of go on this deep, you know, when somebody like wants to bring you on a deep dive with a band.
Yeah.
I love them. I'm bringing this out at the end of the podcast because you're just like,
because I got so much more to say. Yeah. Yeah, go on.
I don't particularly like Korn, but he had some points where I'm like, there was a reason why this resonated with people, and for what it's worth, that's all that really matters. And it's not because something's popular, therefore it's right. It's the fact that people, they don't have any reason to start getting into Korn now, but people are getting into like new metal bands now. There's something that people resonate with, and it's this anger, and it's almost the fact that people don't like it, that I think that's why some people do like it.
I don't know. To me, it sounds a little bit like reading a little bit too much into it. I think that you can say the same thing.
I think that's been my life.
Tell me about it. But I think that the whole concept of the music scene, and then your new metal resurgence, and Instagram, I think all of those things can be kind of blanketed under like being like really affected just by conformity, and
what would be non-conformity to you? Because it's like, what does that mean? You sit in a room,
burn out loud.
Yeah,
burn out loud is non-conformity.
Didn't you describe your hit song off that as Hollow Notes? Like
Hollow Notes.
Yeah. I mean, like,
no,
to call
radical sincerity.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's the bumper sticker for Hall & Oates is radical sincerity.
No, that's the bumper sticker for Vincent Blackshadow.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. And but you know, to some people, if like they genuinely fucking for some reason vibe with Korn,
Yeah.
isn't that their own version of radical sincerity?
Sure.
You're allowed to disagree with me. By
Yeah.
the way.
Oh, sure.
Just because it's in my podcast and my name on it, I do truly appreciate a good fist fight.
Most of the people that I've met who have any sort of disposition towards that music, like, listen to it a lot when they were kids, and I think that just, you know, it's like scientifically kind of just
ingrained.
Like, oh, yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, you know, I should be talking about nu metal being like the guy who was introduced to this whole thing via Kiss, you know, like a famously mediocre rock and roll band.
Yeah, and yeah, there's some very serious, amazing rock rollers that are like, fuck Kiss.
Yeah. There's also a lot of famous, amazing rock and rollers who are
like, yeah. Oh no, absolutely. But you know, it's.
But I don't want to.
It's
talk
not
about
teach
that.
their own. It's also just like.
I've never thought it was that simple, you know. And if there's a thought that I want to like leave you on, I don't know, you know, I don't know what the timing is like, but that whole notion of, well, everything is subjective, so fuck it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't believe in that. I think that there is you know, I think there is kind of like, oh, this is good. You know, this is good.
Let's
there is a God.
I have one question I have to ask everybody. Yeah. But before I get to that, I would like to ask, first off, what are you listening to right now? What is whether it be old, new, somebody fresh in the scene, somebody who you think is interesting. What's been something you've been listening to for your own enjoyment? Yeah,
I'm glad you asked. Because you know, I'm just listening to stuff all the time and like actually categorizing it. You know, I've got a very, very specific way of how I keep track of everything that I listen to.
You have any Spotify playlists?
Not really. I can't really compartmentalize that way. It kind of has to be all in one spot.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've been on like the Blackshadow jazz era, you know, which has been really fun, you know, just like having like not being able to, you know, not having enough knowledge to be pretentious about it, you know, because like I think that pretense does require tense.
It's hard to be judgmental if you truly don't understand.
You truly just don't know and don't know how to read it at all. And so, like for me, it's like, you know, being 26 and hearing like 26 and hearing like Kind of Blue for the first time. It's kind of like, wow, you know, like, you know, it's like, I don't know what he's doing on that thing, you know, the trumpet, you know, it's like,
it's also so moody, obviously.
Maybe, yeah, like, but it's, as like a researcher, it's been really fun to go through all the jazz stuff because it's like, it's so different from everything that I know about rock and roll because like, with that world, it's kind of like, well, there's like 3,000 great bands that have made one or two great albums. With jazz, it's like there's about 70 good artists and they've all made about 120 great albums.
Okay.
You know? So it's kind of been fun, like just digging into all that and being like, oh, well, this guy played with this guy, and you know, these guys work together, and they put it out on this label, and this label is known for this kind of sound, and was engineered at this place in New Jersey truly, or whatever, you know.
A researcher's like wet dream.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you can.
Because you can, yeah.
Because it's like it's every musician in that band has some tie to something else.
It's exhaustible in that way. Yeah. And like, you know, the
childish
part of my brain,
right now, honestly,
that it's exhaustible or that it's not.
That every because like I said, I'm a pop rock drummer. Mm-hmm. Every modern rock band, they share a lot of the same musicians.
Yeah, or like Jack everyone's done Age, something. Jack White's keyboard player was in Unknown Mortal Orchestra, who are another one of my favorite bands from the last 15 years or so.
Yeah, so who are you listening to? Before we go on this tangent too long.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to cut this off, by the way, but I just
you gotta be up in working at 8 a.m.
Well, no, that's not why. It's just usually I just don't go this long, Vincent.
My pleasure. Anytime. Yeah, I mean, all kinds, you know. Yeah, winter is for avant-garde jazz.
Cool.
Basically. And kind of like the weird kind of what they call chamber or third stream. You know, these are just titles, right?
Yeah, like third wave coffee shops.
Yeah, maybe actually probably if you went to a third wave coffee shop, they'd probably be playing the kind of music that I'm listening to right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, it's like when Mingus is like, what if I did jazz but like had like little classical guitars and stuff on it, you know? It's like, so that kind of stuff I've been listening to a lot, you know. Yeah, but then I go back and I listen to, you know, Dress to Kill or something like that's in my blood, you know. It's like a Kiss record like that, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, this morning, you know, I have a quite embarrassing amount of vinyl LPs,
Sick.
you know, and so I might have put on I put on Blue Oyster Cult's first album today.
Sick.
I was like, this is great.
It is.
You know. So
I don't think anybody could argue with that. That's like one of those bands that like you can't.
Yeah. No, I would say so.
Yeah, it's just you're like, this is what it is. It knows what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, this, that, and the other thing.
Well, hell yeah.
What about you? What are you listening to? So I can tell you that it sucks.
Right now, it depends. I've been really into the Witches, which, by the way, there's too many freaking witches. Witch. Black,
right.
Yeah, it all that shit.
Right. It's not the one.
I'm really into
from Zambia, right?
That's which I saw them. I saw them at Brooklyn Bowl.
Yeah.
Which they were
Zamrock.
Yeah. I saw them with my
They're
friend.
called Witch, right?
My friend Sarah Linton plays with the Death Valley Girl. Yeah. She was a bass player on that tour, and they played at Brooklyn Bowl with Witch.
Fantastic.
That was a very, very cool show.
Yeah.
But
the Witches.
Yeah, WY.
Oh, okay.
THES. I'm very much into. I like dirty rock and roll, because I went to school for drumming, and like I got so inundated with like how to play exactly perfect. Everybody just wanted like one of my teachers was the drummer from Zappa Plays Zappa. And then, like, I had a lot of teachers be like, this is how you get a job on a cruise ship. I'm like, I would fucking kill myself if I worked on a cruise ship. Yeah. But I appreciate it. So I was like, I got
a C- in Cruise Ship Drummer 101.
Yeah, Cruise Ship Bossa Nova 1. Yeah, that was like the vibe. I mean, I went to Musicians Institute in Hollywood, and that was like, Christ. It was I mean, I graduated.
And all the other shit that they teach to kids in school, but I ain't no fool.
So, like, it took me a year to actually want to get back into drumming. And that's when I learned how to, like, kind of produce and start, like, kind of thinking of, like, the bigger picture of stuff.
To disobey.
Yeah, but then now ever since then, like, whoever that school did, it's like I love hearing shitty-ass drummers now. Like, I love hearing... drummers that it's just vibes, because like most drummers.
So the Witches, right on with your shitty ass drummer.
That guy sucks and he's amazing. I just think it just makes
not
so
technically
good.
Proficient. Yeah.
Well, if you're listening to third wave jazz and then you switch over to this, you're gonna be like, dude, this guy doesn't even know who Brubeck is.
Poorly played rock and roll is my bread and butter. You know, the whole scene from when I was born and like all my parents.
That's your bumper sticker right there. Poorly played rock and roll is my bread and butter.
Yeah. It's all like garage rock. You know, it's very like I cut my teeth on all of that. You know,
dude, no, you're calculated, man.
I am calculated now, and that's why I couldn't operate in that scene either. You know.
Yeah, but also it's like you can operate in any fucking scene. I think your shit's vibe. Where I see your band doing amazing is
I don't have a band, by the way.
That's fine.
I'm looking for a band. If you want to be in my band,
surely now I see you playing with a band. Is like an amazing like New Year's Eve party.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I would love to. That's not all she wrote. I would love to enter the new year just like that.
Yeah. Well, it won't be New Year's, but you can expect there's gonna, I should plug, right?
Please.
It'll be a new, I'm gonna put out another record. I think.
Yeah,
before March.
Before March.
Yeah.
So February.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Probably.
Yeah, it's called Mandatory Reporter.
Yeah, and what's the deal with it?
The deal with it is just like we tried to do Burn Out Loud backwards. You know, we tried to do the whole process that we did, you know, in total reverse.
Okay.
So that means like, you know, very, very little time spent mixing, but a lot of time like spent getting like really good performances of the songs. Everyone's playing live. We recorded this one at Cat Shit Studios, which is run by my really good friend and collaborator from the band Dee Dee Island, Brandon Rhodes. So he engineered those sessions just at his little cave.
Yeah.
And we recorded to quarter inch analog tape, which is like, you know, a couple steps up from cassette.
Yeah.
And very little overdubs. You know, it's very down and dirty. This is going to be kind of more of just a rock record.
How long have you been working on it?
The song's been written for years.
Yeah, all your songs.
Yeah, kind of the way it is. And you know, I think we started tracking it in like maybe October. So I mean, the whole process is not supposed to really take very long because, like I've said before, like part of the trying to stay on top of that backlog is like staying busy and getting this one done so I can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why like I'm not like the last thing I want to do is go to Instagram and be like, okay guys, like my new album is coming out, you know, like I'll do a couple posts, I'll put the fucking thing out, and then I got to work on the next one because the next one is a double album. Yeah, it's going to be a double album called Cafe Mirror.
Wow.
Yeah. All this
not
stuff
subject
is
to change.
Not subject to, there are some things that are subject to change, but not that. No, I got, you know, I got a schedule. I'm just trying to keep to a schedule.
Oh shit. I have my camera plugged in, but it says it's going to die.
Yeah.
That's how long we've been going. Well,
we'll see
if we can finish this.
We're just gonna keep talking. The camera's gonna die.
Yeah, we're gonna. Well, this is recording. We'll animate the rest of it. We'll pay thousands of dollars to do that. I have to ask everybody this question. What do you do when you deal with imposter syndrome? You talked about this at the very, very start of the podcast, but
yeah, you deal with imposter syndrome. It's a paradox, right? Imposter syndrome is a paradox because people only feel that way. Imposter syndrome is what you feel when you don't feel like you're worthy of art or, you know, or of like creating, right?
Yeah.
Roughly. But the only time that you feel unworthy of creating is when you're not creating enough. So it's a paradox because like the thing that you have to do to make yourself feel like a genuine creator is to create, but that's the same, you know, barricade that's against you, you know, trying to create is your imposter syndrome. So it's a paradox. So what's the question? What do you do?
Yeah, what gets you through it?
You gotta find a way to just write your way through it. You gotta write shitty songs. You gotta write 100 shitty songs, you know? And you gotta be okay with that. And tell me one Rick Rubin type author who's not gonna say that exact thing.
Nah, I agree.
Every one of those fucking books, Letters to a Young Poet, that kind of stuff, whatever, they're all telling you that like you just gotta write your way through it, you know? Yeah,
and that's it's profound.
Gotta write your way through it.
It's an easy way to fucking deal with that.
Yeah, mid-December in a basement. That's a good time to say.
It was 60 degrees today. It's not even. It's such a weird day we've had today.
I know.
Oh man,
write your way through it though.
Well, I hope when this next album does come out,
I
would love to have you back on the show if you feel like it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, if you want to promote it,
I promise I'll do better next time.
Fuck off! I don't think I actually don't think you could because this is awesome.
Thank you. Zen.
Yeah, this has been such a pleasure, man. And thanks for listening to Zen Perry Project. Vincent Blackshadow. That was a great interview, and
that's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote.
No,
that's
no,
not all she wrote.
Thanks, Zen.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Rock and roll.
Hey, for the love of God, please subscribe to our Patreon for like $1 a month. That would help out a lot. Podcasts are, fun fact, really expensive to run, and I really enjoy doing this. So if you want to keep on seeing stuff like this, help me out. Also, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and really hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.